My name is Michael. And this is a photo of my great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, Ling Wei. He helped to build the Transcontinental Railroad. That's a pretty long word, but it's easy to understand if you split it into two parts. The first part is trans, which means across, and the second part is continental, which means continent. So my ancestor, Ling Wei, helped to build a part of the railroad that goes across the continental U.S. or from the
Mrs. Mobley, please call the main office. Mrs. Mobley, please call the main office.
East Coast to the West Coast. Ling Wei began working on the railroad in 1863. By that time, there were many railroads in the United States, but they mostly went from the Northeast to the Southeast, or from eastern cities like Baltimore to cities in the Midwest, like Omaha, Nebraska. It was cheaper, more comfortable, and more convenient for people to travel by rail than travel by canal or wagon. It was faster too. Before the Transcontinental Railroad, people could only travel to the west by wagon or horse. Or by boat on a river or canal, and the going was slow. Because the iron horse, which means the train, the railroad, was faster, cheaper, more comfortable, and more convenient. Many people thought it would be a great idea to have a railroad track that spanned the entire U.S. My great-great-great-grandfather, Ling Wei, helped to lay those tracks that connected settlers in the Midwest near the Missouri River to settlers in Sacramento, California, all the way to the West Coast. How many people can say that about one of their ancestors? It took two separate rail companies to build the Transcontinental Railroad. The Union Pacific Railroad and the Central Pacific Railroad. The Union Pacific Railroad Company started building from Omaha, Nebraska, and laid its tracks going west. The Central Pacific Railroad Company started building from San Francisco, California, and laid its tracks going east. At first, the two companies were competing against each other to see who could lay the most track. The U.S. government paid each company for every mile of track it laid, and both companies wanted to make lots of money. In the end, the government told them they had to work together and join their tracks. Most of the laborers who laid the track for the Union Pacific Railroad were Irish immigrants. My ancestor, Ling Wei, worked for the Central Pacific Railroad, like many other Chinese immigrants during the 1800s. Ling Wei had settled in California. He and other Chinese immigrants, as well as other immigrants from all over the world, came to the United States because of the promise of gold and a better life. When people realized that the mountains of gold they had heard about were a myth, they had to find some other way to survive. So many Chinese immigrants worked on the western portion of the railroad, while Irish immigrants worked on the eastern. These workers laid tracks through the mountains and across rivers and deserts in the United States. The Transcontinental Railroad took 6 years to build. and my great-great-great-grandfather Ling Wei kept journals for all those years. Here's my favorite journal entry. May 10th, 1869. Utah. Only 100 feet left to lay, and that's what I thought of first thing this morning. After several years of hard work, long hours, and little wages, 100 feet of track is all there is left to complete the railroad today. Now it's hard to believe the work is complete. Despite the hardship I endured, I feel proud of my work. I think everyone today wanted to share in that sentiment. Wherever I looked, people tried to lend a hand in finishing the track. Men that were just passing through Utah to deliver goods stopped to throw dirt on the ties or to drive a spike into the ground. Even the presidents of the Central Pacific Railroad and the Union Pacific Railroad took turns driving the last spike into the rails. It was a spike made of gold to mark the special occasion. They both missed on their first try, and all of us workers laughed. It's not as easy as we made it look. In fact, it was very difficult.